Hello, everyone. Davening with Parshat R'ey, dedicated to the loving memory of Lucy, Maya, and Rina D. Zichronam Livracha. So in Parshat R'ey, it's very, very hard to go through the Parsha and not to see one particular refrain, and that is Hamakom Asher Yivchar Hashem in some way or another, the place in which God ultimately told us to be in. Namely, unlike in the desert where everyone basically lived around the temple, when they move into Israel, there's going to be a place called Yerushalayim, eventually a Beis Hamikdash, and that's the only place eventually where you can bring korbanot, sacrifices, and other such sacrificial work, and other things that had to do with the temple and the Sanhedrin that lived next to the temple. And I believe there's a message here about our davening as well. We all daven differently. We all daven at a different pace. Some of us have different nuschaot. From the person next to us, he's Nusach Sfard, I'm Nusach Ashkenaz, he's a Sfardi, he's a Teimani. And yet, there are times that we're different, and there are times that we're part of one nation. So I think it really is beautiful that despite the fact that many people daven differently, you can be sitting in a shul, one person's davening Nusach Ashkenaz, next to him a guy Nusach Sfard, another person Sfaradi, another person Italian. They all face the same direction, namely to Yerushalayim, when they daven. In other words, if I can paraphrase the way things are in America, sometimes you're part of a state, and each state is different. Some have state taxes, some don't have state taxes, they have higher property tax, and sometimes we're part of one nation. There's federal and there's state, and the same thing is true in Judaism. We're different. Every single tribe was different from the other. They lived in different places. Their culture was different from the tribe next door to them. And yet at the same time, we are also part of the same nation. And therefore God is saying to the Jewish people, you're going to move into Israel and you're going to continue to be different. You're going to live in different places. But you're all going to face the same direction. And 3 times a year, you're all going to get together, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, in order to feel that indeed we're one nation. So therefore, I believe we learned 2 things. Number 1, don't be scared of differences. Differences were then and differences are today. And number 2, just remember that despite the differences, we are ultimately all part of the same nation. How do you balance it out? God says in the Parsha, always face Yerushalayim in your prayers. That's the only place that you can bring sacrifices. So we're different, and yet we're the same. We are all different, and yet we're all part of one nation. Wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom ahead.